What if I told you that love today is harder than ever, not because people have changed, but because the way we think about love has been completely reprogrammed? You see, love in the modern world is a paradox. We have more access to romantic possibilities than ever before. We can connect with thousands of potential partners at the swipe of a finger. We can send a message across the world in seconds. We can experience validation and attention instantly. And yet, despite all of this, people have never been more lost when it comes to love. Something isn't adding up. If technology has made it easier to meet people, why does it feel harder to form real connections? Why do so many relationships feel disposable, like they can be replaced just as quickly as they started? Why do so many people find themselves longing for something deeper but feel unable to find it? The truth is, love has changed. Or rather, the way we experience love has changed. And the biggest problem isn't love itself, it's what we've been conditioned to believe about it. Think about it. Love, for most of human history, was about commitment, patience, and growth. It was about choosing one person and building something together through time, effort, and resilience. But today, love is treated like a product, something we consume, something we expect to entertain us, something we can replace the moment it stops giving us the instant gratification we crave. And nowhere is this more obvious than in the way people date today. Look at the modern dating landscape. Dating apps promise endless possibilities. You open your phone, swipe left, swipe right, and with every match you get a tiny hit of dopamine, a little rush that makes you feel wanted, desired, important. But what happens when you know there's always another option? What happens when you start seeing people as profiles to browse instead of human beings to connect with? You start believing that love is about finding the perfect match rather than creating a meaningful bond. You start thinking that the right person will feel effortless, that love should always be exciting, that the moment things become difficult, there must be something better waiting just around the corner. The problem is, real love doesn't work like that. Love isn't about finding someone who meets a checklist of requirements. It's not about an endless pursuit of the next best thing. It's about making a decision. It's about choosing someone every single day, even when things aren't exciting, even when things aren't perfect, even when it feels easier to leave than to stay. But modern culture doesn't reward that kind of love anymore. Instead, it glorifies the illusion of choice. It tells you that settling down means settling for less. It tells you that committing to one person means missing out on infinite other possibilities. It makes you think that there's always someone better, someone smarter, someone more attractive, someone who will make love feel effortless and easy. But let me ask you something. Has having all these options made people happier, or has it made them more anxious, more unsure, more afraid to commit? Because when you believe there's always something better, you never fully appreciate what's in front of you. You never give love a chance to grow. You're too busy looking for what's next, rather than building something real in the present. And that's just one part of the problem, because it's not just the illusion of choice that has reshaped love, it's the way we've learned to consume love. The way we've been taught to see relationships as something that should always bring pleasure, rather than something that requires effort. Think about how we consume everything else in modern life. We are programmed for instant gratification. If we're hungry, we order food with the click of a button. If we're bored, we scroll through an endless feed of entertainment. If something stops being exciting, we replace it with something new. And we've started treating relationships the same way. People want love to be exciting all the time. They want the highs without the lows, the passion without the patience, the connection without the vulnerability. The moment things get difficult, they assume something is wrong. The moment love requires effort, they think it must not be the right person, because they've been conditioned to believe that love should always feel effortless, that if it's hard, it must not be real. But love is hard. Love requires patience. Love requires resilience. Love requires facing discomfort, not running from it. The best relationships are not the ones that never struggle. They are the ones that learn how to struggle together. But modern culture doesn't teach that. It tells you to leave at the first sign of difficulty. It tells you that relationships should be easy, and if they're not, you should move on. And that's why so many people are lost. Because they don't know how to stay. They don't know how to grow with someone. They only know how to chase the next high. And then there's the fear of vulnerability. The belief that being too open, too emotional, too available is somehow a weakness. The idea that the person who cares less has the most power. That if you show too much interest, you'll push someone away. That if you let someone know how much they mean to you, you'll scare them off. Where did we learn that love is a game? Where did we learn that the best way to win is to act like we don't care? Why has modern love become a competition of who can be the most detached, rather than who can be the most real? Real love is about vulnerability. It's about the courage to say, I choose you, without knowing if the other person will choose you back. It's about being open, even when it feels scary. It's about embracing the risk of getting hurt, because that's the only way to truly connect. But in a world that glorifies independence, that celebrates self-sufficiency, people are afraid to need each other. They're afraid to depend on someone, afraid to let someone depend on them. And so they keep relationships at a surface level. They keep love at arm's length. They stay in situationships instead of relationships, afraid of defining things, afraid of commitment, afraid of giving too much of themselves. And yet, despite all of this, people still crave love. They still long for something deeper. They still feel the emptiness of shallow connections, but they don't know how to bridge the gap. They don't know how to unlearn everything they've been taught about love. That's why love feels so broken today, because people are caught between wanting something real and being afraid to do what it takes to get it, because they've been conditioned to believe that love should be effortless, that vulnerability is dangerous, that commitment is a limitation rather than a choice. But love isn't broken. The way we understand it is. The problem isn't that love doesn't exist anymore. It's that people don't know how to nurture it. They've been taught that love should always be easy, that passion should never fade, that if someone is right for you, they'll never make you feel uncertain. But that's not real love. That's a fantasy. Love is not a feeling that just happens. Love is a practice. Love is a decision. And yet, modern culture has convinced people that the moment love stops feeling effortless, it must not be meant to last. There was a time when love was something people built over time. It was something that deepened, something that required patience. Now, people expect instant chemistry, instant certainty, instant perfection, and if they don't feel it right away, they assume something is missing. They assume they're settling. They assume they're meant for something more. But love doesn't work like that. The strongest relationships are not built on fleeting passion. They are built on deep connection, shared values, and the willingness to grow together. But growing together means facing hard things. It means learning how to disagree, how to navigate conflict, how to communicate through the difficult moments instead of shutting down or walking away. It means choosing someone again and again, even when the excitement of something new has faded, even when their flaws become more visible, even when the fantasy has been replaced by reality. But the problem is, people don't want reality anymore. They want the dream. They want the rush of falling in love without the work of staying in love. And nowhere is this clearer than in the way people consume love through social media. Because social media has changed the way people perceive relationships. It has made love a performance. It has made people believe that relationships should look a certain way, that love should be effortless and aesthetically pleasing, that happiness in a relationship is about grand romantic gestures, perfect photos, and curated moments. But real love is not a highlight reel. Real love is not the perfectly framed vacations or the beautifully worded captions. Real love is the ordinary, the mundane, the unfiltered moments that don't make it onto a screen. And yet, people compare their relationships to these illusions every single day. They see couples who seem perfect and wonder why their own relationship isn't as magical. They see others getting married, getting engaged, posting about their endless happiness, and they start to question what they have. They start to wonder if they're missing something, if they're with the wrong person, if they should be feeling more. But what they don't realize is that they're comparing their reality to someone else's filtered version of the truth. No one posts about the arguments, no one posts about the doubts, the hard conversations, the moments of loneliness that exist even in the best relationships. And so, people start believing that real love should never feel difficult, that a good relationship should never have problems. They start chasing an illusion. They start craving a version of love that doesn't actually exist. And when people chase illusions, they never find fulfillment. They jump from one relationship to the next, thinking that the next person will make them feel something they've been missing. They assume that love should always feel like the beginning, always filled with excitement and passion. But passion isn't what sustains love. Passion fades. Excitement fades. What remains is the foundation underneath. And if there is no foundation, then love will always crumble. But the real danger of social media isn't just the way it warps expectations. It's the way it turns love into a game of validation. Because today, love isn't just about connection. It's about being seen. It's about being desired by as many people as possible. It's about proving your worth through likes, comments, and attention. And so people chase validation instead of connection. They stay in relationships that look good on the outside rather than ones that actually make them happy. They seek attention from strangers instead of investing in real intimacy with the person right in front of them. And then they wonder why love feels empty. They wonder why relationships don't last. They wonder why no matter how much attention they receive, it never feels like enough. It's because attention is not love, validation is not connection, and yet people have been conditioned to believe that the more desirable they are to others, the more valuable they are as a person. And so, relationships become a source of self-esteem rather than a space for genuine connection. And when love becomes about validation, it stops being about the other person. It becomes about what they can provide, how they make you feel, how they enhance your image, how they boost your sense of self-worth. It becomes transactional. And the moment that person stops fulfilling that need, they are discarded, replaced by someone new who can give the next hit of validation. But love is not supposed to be about consuming another person for what they can give you. Love is about giving, about showing up for someone else, about being present, even when they are not making you feel validated or important or special. Real love requires selflessness, and yet modern love has become rooted in selfishness. What can I get rather than what can I give? And that's why relationships don't last. Because people don't know how to stay when they are not constantly receiving something in return. They don't know how to invest in a relationship when it stops serving their ego. They don't know how to love when love stops being easy. But love was never meant to be easy. Love is not effortless. Love is effort. It is work. It is choosing someone even on the days when you don't feel that overwhelming rush of emotions. It is choosing someone even when life gets hard, even when they are struggling, even when you are struggling. It is about being there even when things aren't exciting, even when things aren't perfect. And that's the part people don't want to hear, because effort isn't exciting, commitment isn't thrilling. Building something real takes time, and people today don't want to wait. They want the feeling of love without the responsibility of it. They want the highs without the lows. And so love has become disposable. People walk away at the first sign of discomfort. They chase the illusion of something better rather than investing in what they already have. They assume love should always feel like a high, and if it doesn't, they assume it must not be real. But the truth is, love is not about feeling high all the time. Love is about feeling safe. It is about knowing that even on the worst days you have someone who will stay. It is about knowing that even when the excitement fades, the foundation remains. It is about knowing that even when love is hard, it is still worth fighting for. Because real love is not about never feeling doubt. It is not about never struggling. It is not about always feeling passionate and excited and euphoric. It is about choosing the same person again and again, through every version of life, through every difficulty, through every change. But if people never stop chasing illusions, they will never experience the depth of what love can be. They will never know what it's like to truly build something with another person. They will never understand that love is not about what you get from someone, but about what you create together. And so, love today is not broken, it is misunderstood, it is misrepresented, it is treated as something that should be effortless rather than something that should be nurtured. But for those who are willing to unlearn everything they have been told about love, for those who are willing to choose depth over convenience, for those who are willing to see love not as something to consume, but as something to create, love is still there, it is still possible, it is still worth it. Love was never meant to be a transaction, a product, or a source of endless validation, and yet that's exactly what it has become. People aren't searching for love anymore. They're searching for someone who makes them feel good about themselves. They're searching for attention, for admiration, for the feeling of being wanted, and the moment that feeling fades, they convince themselves that something is missing. They assume they need to move on, to find someone new, to chase the high of falling in love all over again. But love is not about being desired. Love is about being chosen, even when the excitement fades, even when the world isn't watching, even when no one else sees the effort being made. But people don't know how to choose anymore, they only know how to chase. They chase attention, they chase chemistry, they chase the idea of perfect compatibility. But real love isn't about finding someone who is perfect, it's about learning how to love someone who isn't. And yet, the moment a relationship starts requiring patience, or forgiveness, or resilience, people assume they've made a mistake. They assume love should never feel difficult, that if they have to work at it, it must not be right. But love that lasts has always required work. It has always required effort. It has always required two people who are willing to stay, even when staying isn't easy. The problem is, people have been conditioned to believe that love should always feel like the beginning, that if the passion fades, if the butterflies disappear, if the excitement isn't constant, then something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. That's just how love works. Passion is temporary. Infatuation fades. What remains is something deeper, something quieter, something that cannot be captured in a single moment but is built over time. And yet, so many people never get to that stage. They leave before love ever has the chance to grow into something real. They confuse familiarity with boredom, commitment with limitation, stability with stagnation. They assume that if the intensity isn't there, then the love must not be there either. But intensity is not love. It is attraction. It is newness. It is the chemical rush of the unknown. And when people mistake that feeling for love, they set themselves up for a lifetime of disappointment. Because that feeling never lasts. It is not meant to. And so people spend their lives searching for something that doesn't exist. They break up with people they could have built something incredible with because they assume there must be someone out there who will make love feel effortless forever. They convince themselves that relationships shouldn't require work, that true love should always be easy. And in doing so, they sabotage the very thing they claim to be searching for. Because love is not effortless. It is not something that happens to you. It is something you create. It is something you choose. It is something you nurture. Through seasons of change, through moments of doubt, through every difficult conversation and every unspoken fear. Love is not about always feeling certain. It is about deciding that even in uncertainty, this is the person you want to figure things out with. But people today don't know how to be uncertain. They don't know how to exist in the in-between. They want immediate clarity, immediate certainty, immediate gratification. And if they don't feel it, they assume it must not be there. But love does not present itself fully formed. It does not arrive as a completed masterpiece. It is something you build with another person moment by moment, day by day. And yet, people expect love to be instant. They expect to know from the very beginning that they've found the right person. But how can you know? How can you possibly know what kind of love you are capable of creating with someone before you've had the chance to actually build it? Love is not about the way someone makes you feel in the beginning. It is about the way you continue to show up for each other, even when the feelings are complicated, even when life gets hard, even when staying feels like a choice rather than a feeling. because that is what love is, a choice. And people who don't understand that will spend their lives chasing the illusion of perfect love, never realizing that love only becomes perfect when you stop looking for perfection and start looking for something real. And the truth is, real love will not always feel good. It will not always be exciting. It will not always be easy. There will be days when you question everything, days when you feel disconnected, days when you wonder if you are growing together or growing apart. But those moments are not signs that love is failing. They are signs that love is being tested. And love that is never tested is love that has never been given the chance to prove itself. But modern love does not make room for those tests. It does not allow relationships the time and space to evolve. People walk away too soon. They assume that the first sign of difficulty means they are with the wrong person. They believe that love should never be uncomfortable, never be uncertain, never require sacrifice. But real love will always require something of you. It will require you to let go of your ego. It will require you to compromise, to communicate, to grow. It will require you to face yourself in ways that nothing else ever has. And that is why so many people are afraid of it. Because love is a mirror. It reflects back to you everything you have not yet healed, everything you still need to work through, everything you try to hide from the rest of the world. Love will bring out your deepest insecurities. It will challenge you in ways you never expected. It will show you the parts of yourself that still need to grow. And most people don't want that. They want the version of love that makes them feel good, not the version that makes them face themselves. But love is not meant to just make you feel good. It is meant to make you whole. It is meant to show you where you still have wounds to heal. It is meant to teach you how to be patient, how to be kind, how to be strong in the face of difficulty. Love is not just about what you receive, it is about what you give. And people who are only looking to receive will never experience the fullness of what love has to offer. Because love is not about finding someone who never makes you doubt, never makes you work, never makes you uncomfortable. It is about finding someone who is willing to do the work with you, who is willing to face the discomfort, who is willing to walk through the doubts instead of running away from them. Love is not about never being afraid, it is about choosing to stay, even when you are afraid. And in the end, that is what sets apart the people who find lasting love from the people who are always searching for it. The ones who find it are not the ones who never question it. They are not the ones who always feel certain. They are the ones who choose to stay, who choose to fight, who choose to build something even when it would be easier to walk away. Because love is not what you feel in a moment. Love is what you build over a lifetime. And those who understand that will find something that the rest of the world is still searching for. Love is not what you feel when everything is perfect. Love is what remains when things get hard, when the excitement fades, when the illusion of perfection is replaced by the reality of two imperfect people trying to figure it out together. Love is not about the highs. It's about how you move through the lows. It's about what you do when the feelings aren't overwhelming, when passion takes a back seat to patience, when connection requires more than just chemistry. But most people never reach that point. They walk away too soon, convinced that if love isn't easy, it must not be real, convinced that love should always feel effortless, convinced that the right person will never make them question, never make them struggle, never make them work. But love is work. It has always been work, and not in the way that people fear, not in a way that drains you, not in a way that depletes you, but in a way that challenges you to be better, in a way that asks you to show up, even when it's inconvenient, in a way that forces you to confront your own fears, your own insecurities, your own limitations. Love is not a fantasy. It is not something that happens in grand sweeping moments. It is something that is built in the quiet, in the small choices you make every single day. To listen instead of shutting down, to understand instead of assuming, to fight for the connection instead of abandoning it. And yet people today are terrified of struggle. They have been taught that relationships should never feel like effort, that love should never be uncomfortable, that if it doesn't come easily it must not be right. But that belief is the very thing that keeps people from experiencing the depth of what love truly is. Because love is not about never struggling, it is about struggling together. It is about knowing that even in the hardest moments you are not looking for a way out, you are looking for a way through. And yet, modern love has become disposable. People leave at the first sign of inconvenience. They convince themselves that the relationship wasn't meant to be because it required effort. They run from anything that asks them to be patient, to be present, to be willing to grow. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the kind of love that only reveals itself with time. The kind of love that cannot be found in the rush of something new. The kind of love that is only built through the experience of staying. But staying is not easy in a world that tells you to leave. In a culture that rewards detachment. In a society that glorifies the idea of keeping your options open, of never being too invested, of never needing anyone too much. People have been taught that the moment they depend on someone, they have lost. That the moment they open themselves up completely, they have given away their power. And so, love has become a game, a battle of who can care less, a war of who can stay the most indifferent. But love is not about indifference. Love is about courage. The courage to be vulnerable, the courage to choose someone without knowing if they will always choose you back. The courage to invest in something that could break you, not because you are naive, but because you understand that love requires risk. And yet, so many people today are afraid to take that risk. They would rather play it safe. They would rather protect themselves from the possibility of pain than allow themselves the possibility of something real. And that is why modern love feels so empty, because people are more afraid of getting hurt than they are of never experiencing true connection. Because people would rather protect their egos than open their hearts. Because people would rather chase the illusion of love than do what is necessary to create it. But love is not found, it is built. It is not something that just happens to you, it is something you create, something you sustain, something you choose. And it is not meant to be perfect. It is not meant to be effortless. It is meant to challenge you, to shape you, to ask you to become something greater than you were before. And if you are unwilling to struggle for it, if you are unwilling to work for it, if you are unwilling to risk something for it, then you will never know what love truly is. Because love is not the absence of difficulty. It is what you do in the presence of it. It is not about never feeling doubt. It is about what you choose when doubt arises. It is not about finding someone who always makes you happy. It is about choosing someone even when happiness is complicated. And it is not about constant excitement. It is about the peace that comes with knowing that you have someone who will stay. But that kind of love is rare today, because that kind of love requires patience. And patience is in short supply in a world that teaches people to chase the next best thing. Patience is rare in a world where relationships are measured by their ability to entertain rather than their ability to endure. Patience is rare in a world that has made people believe that if love does not give them exactly what they want, exactly when they want it, then it must not be worth having at all. But love is not about getting everything you want in the moment. It is about learning how to grow with another person. It is about accepting that they will not always be perfect, that they will disappoint you, that they will make mistakes, that they will not always know exactly how to love you in the way that you need, and choosing them anyway. Because love is not about the absence of flaws, it is about loving through them. It is about seeing the imperfections and staying, not because you are settling, but because you understand that perfection does not exist. Because you understand that love is not about finding someone who never fails you, but about being with someone who is willing to learn how to love you better. And yet, people today do not want to learn. They do not want to wait. They do not want to put in the effort. They want love to be immediate. They want certainty before they invest. They want to know from the very beginning that they will never be disappointed. And because of that, they miss out on what love could be. Because love is not certain. It is a risk. It is stepping into the unknown with another person and hoping that they will step with you. It is trusting them even when you are afraid. It is choosing them even when doubt tries to pull you away. And it is understanding that love is not about never falling, but about always getting back up together. But modern love has forgotten that. It has become shallow, it has become transactional, it has become about what people can get rather than what they can give. And because of that, people are more alone than ever, even when they are surrounded by endless options. Because love was never meant to be about options. It was meant to be about commitment. It was meant to be about choosing one person again and again, through every version of life, through every stage of change. And for those who understand that, love is still possible, real love, lasting love, the kind of love that does not disappear when things get hard, the kind of love that does not end when the excitement fades, the kind of love that is not perfect but is real. But only for those who are willing to unlearn everything modern love has taught them. Only for those who are willing to stop chasing perfection and start building something real. Only for those who understand that love is not about finding the perfect person. It is about creating the perfect commitment. Because love is not broken, the way people have been taught to understand it is. Love is not broken, it is only misunderstood. People today are searching for something they do not know how to build. They are looking for a feeling instead of a foundation. They are chasing an illusion instead of committing to the reality of what love is. And in doing so, they have turned love into something fleeting, something transactional, something that is only as valuable as the emotions it produces in the moment. But real love is not about how you feel in a moment. It is about how you show up in a lifetime. It is about who you choose when the feelings fade, when the excitement settles, when the initial rush of infatuation is replaced by the quiet stability of something real. But people today are afraid of stillness. They are afraid of quiet. They have been conditioned to believe that if something is not constantly stimulating, it is not worth having. They do not know how to be in a relationship that does not entertain them at all times. They do not know how to sit in the presence of another human being without seeking validation, without seeking excitement, without expecting every moment to be filled with passion and intensity. They do not know how to appreciate the kind of love that is not dramatic, that does not exist for display, that does not need an audience. But that is the love that lasts, the love that does not need to be performed, the love that is not about impressing the world, but about being seen by one person fully and completely, and knowing that no matter how imperfect you are, no matter how much you struggle, no matter how much life changes, they will still be there. But the world today does not teach people how to stay, it teaches them how to leave. It teaches them that if something does not serve them in the way they want, at the exact moment they want it, they should discard it and move on. It tells them that they deserve happiness, but it does not teach them how to create it. It tells them that love should always feel good, but it does not teach them how to love someone, even when it doesn't. It tells them that they should never settle, but it does not teach them the difference between settling for less and building something more. And so people run. They run at the first sign of difficulty. They run when the infatuation fades. They run when they are no longer being adored in the way they expected to be. They run from conversations that challenge them, from emotions that make them uncomfortable, from relationships that require them to do more than just exist in someone else's presence. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the very thing they claim to be searching for, because love is not something you find, it is something you build. And the people who understand that are the ones who get to experience love in its truest form. Because love is not about perfection, it is about choice. The choice to stay when it would be easier to go, the choice to be patient when frustration takes over, the choice to forgive when anger feels justified, the choice to continue choosing every single day, even when the person you are choosing is not perfect, even when the relationship is not perfect, even when life itself is not perfect. Because love has never been about finding someone who meets all of your expectations. It is about finding someone you are willing to grow with, someone you are willing to struggle with, someone you are willing to create a life with, knowing that there will be moments when you don't like them, moments when you doubt everything, moments when you wonder if you made the right choice. But the right choice is not about never feeling doubt. It is about never letting doubt make your choices for you. And that is what so many people today do not understand. They believe that doubt is a sign that they are in the wrong relationship, that struggle is a sign that they are with the wrong person, that difficulty means they should walk away. But love is not about never struggling. It is about knowing who is worth struggling for. It is about understanding that the most meaningful relationships are not the ones that never face hardship, but the ones that know how to move through it. Because love is not about never fighting. It is about knowing how to fight in a way that brings you closer instead of tearing you apart. It is about learning how to communicate, how to listen, how to compromise, how to hold space for another person's emotions even when they do not make sense to you. Love is not about always agreeing. It is about learning how to disagree in a way that does not destroy the connection between you. But modern love does not teach people how to do that. It does not teach them how to navigate the complexities of a real relationship. It teaches them how to leave, how to protect themselves from ever being too invested, how to convince themselves that the problem is always the other person, never them. It teaches them that if love does not come easily, it is not meant to be. But love that lasts has never come easily. It has always required work, and not the kind of work that drains you, not the kind of work that asks you to lose yourself, but the kind of work that requires you to show up fully, to grow, to expand, to become better, not just for your partner, but for yourself. And yet, people today do not want to work for love. They want love to serve them, but they do not want to serve love. They want love to heal them, but they do not want to do the healing within themselves. They want love to be easy because they have been told that if it is not, then it must not be real. But love is not supposed to be easy. It is supposed to be worth it. It is supposed to challenge you. It is supposed to reveal to you the parts of yourself that still need to grow. It is supposed to force you to be patient, to be understanding, to be selfless in moments when you would rather be selfish. It is supposed to teach you how to love beyond your own needs, beyond your own desires, beyond your own expectations. Because real love is not about what you can get, it is about what you can give. It is not about finding someone who completes you, it is about becoming whole within yourself so that you can love from a place of abundance rather than a place of need. It is not about searching for someone who will make your life perfect. It is about building a life together that is beautiful even in its imperfection. But people today do not want to hear that, because that kind of love requires effort, it requires patience, it requires commitment, and commitment is something that modern love has tried to redefine as a burden rather than a privilege. It has tried to convince people that choosing one person is a limitation rather than a gift. It has tried to make people believe that keeping their options open is more valuable than pouring themselves into something real. But love is not about keeping your options open. It is about closing the door to everything else because you have found something worth staying for. And yet, most people will never get to that point. They will continue searching, continue chasing, continue convincing themselves that the right person is out there, somewhere, waiting to give them the perfect relationship with no struggles, no difficulties, no moments of doubt. They will continue believing that love should never require work, that commitment is something that holds them back rather than something that sets them free. They will continue to misunderstand love. But for those who are willing to see it differently, for those who are willing to unlearn everything they have been taught about love, for those who are willing to stop searching for perfection and start creating something real, love is still possible. Love is still worth it. Love is still waiting, not to be found, but to be built. Love is still waiting, not to be found, but to be built. But in a world where people have been conditioned to believe that love is something that just happens, the idea of building it feels foreign. People want instant compatibility. They want certainty before they commit. They want the feeling of love without the responsibility of it. But love does not come with guarantees. Love is a risk. Love is stepping into the unknown with someone and trusting that you will figure it out together. Love is choosing one person again and again, even when life makes it difficult, even when the world tempts you with the illusion of something easier, even when doubt tries to convince you that you should leave. But people today do not know how to stay when doubt arises. They do not know how to navigate the discomfort that comes with truly knowing someone. They expect love to always feel effortless, always feel exciting, always feel certain, and when it doesn't, they convince themselves that they are in the wrong relationship. They do not realize that every relationship will have moments of uncertainty, that love is not about avoiding those moments, but about moving through them. That real love is not about the absence of doubt, but about what you choose when doubt appears. And that choice is the difference between love that lasts and love that fades. Because no matter who you are with, there will come a day when love feels ordinary. There will come a day when you wake up next to the person you once felt fireworks for, and instead of feeling excitement, you feel familiarity. Instead of feeling passion, you feel comfort. Instead of feeling intensity, you feel stillness. And in that moment you will have a choice. You can mistake that stillness for a loss of love, or you can recognize it as the foundation of something deeper. Because love is not meant to stay in the stage of infatuation forever. The rush of something new was never supposed to last. It is meant to evolve, to mature, to become something stronger than just passion. But if you are constantly chasing that high, if you believe that love should always feel like the beginning, you will spend your life searching for something that does not exist. You will mistake stability for boredom. You will mistake comfort for a lack of connection. You will walk away from love that could have grown into something incredible, simply because you did not understand what love was supposed to become. Because love is not just about how someone makes you feel. It is about what you build together. It is about the life you create, the history you share, the trust you develop over time. It is about knowing that even on the days when you do not feel overwhelmed with love, you still have a foundation that is unshakable. It is about knowing that even when things feel ordinary, even when routine replaces excitement, even when life becomes complicated and stressful and messy, you still have someone who chooses you. Not because they are infatuated with you, not because they are addicted to the feeling of being with you, but because they have decided that you are their person. And that kind of love is rare. Because that kind of love requires patience. It requires people to stay when their emotions tell them to leave. It requires people to work through conflict instead of running from it. It requires people to understand that love is not a constant state of bliss, but a journey filled with ups and downs, filled with moments of passion and moments of stillness, filled with certainty and doubt, comfort and challenge. It requires people to stop searching for the fantasy and start embracing the reality. But the reality of love is not what most people want to hear. They want to believe that love should always be easy, that the right person will never disappoint them, never frustrate them, never challenge them in ways that make them uncomfortable. They want to believe that when love gets hard, it is because they have chosen the wrong person. But love gets hard for everyone. Love is difficult not because it is broken, but because it is real. And anything real will come with challenges. Anything real will require effort. But effort is something that people today do not want to give. They have been conditioned to believe that relationships should serve them, that they should always be receiving, that love should be about what someone can do for them rather than what they can give. And when they are no longer being entertained, when they are no longer being adored in the way they expected to be, they assume it is time to move on. They assume that love should always feel like the beginning, and if it doesn't, they must be with the wrong person. But the beginning is not where love is built. Love is built in the years that come after. Love is built in the quiet moments that no one sees. Love is built in the conversations that are difficult, in the choices that require sacrifice, in the moments when staying feels like a decision rather than an instinct. Love is built when two people choose to grow together rather than grow apart. Love is built when two people decide that no matter what happens, they will not let the world convince them that something better is waiting just beyond the horizon. Because something better is not found, it is created. It is built through time, through effort, through a willingness to work through the difficult moments instead of avoiding them. It is built through patience, through resilience, through the decision to love someone even when they are not perfect, even when the relationship is not perfect, even when life itself is not perfect, because love is not about finding perfection, it is about creating something imperfect that is still worth fighting for. And that is what modern love has forgotten. It has forgotten that love is not a feeling, it is a choice. It has forgotten that love is not about what you can take, but what you can give. It has forgotten that love is not about never facing struggles, but about facing them together. It has forgotten that the deepest love is not the one that burns the brightest in the beginning, but the one that continues to burn even when everything else in life tries to put it out. And the people who understand that, the people who are willing to unlearn everything modern love has taught them, the people who are willing to see love as something that is built rather than something that is found, will experience love in a way that most people never will. They will experience the kind of love that does not fade when the excitement fades. They will experience the kind of love that does not disappear when the passion becomes less intense. They will experience the kind of love that is not about the rush of something new, but about the depth of something lasting. Because that is what love was always meant to be. Not something you search for, not something you consume, but something you create. And the moment you stop chasing illusions, the moment you stop believing that love should always be easy, the moment you stop expecting love to be perfect, is the moment you will finally understand what love really is. Love was never meant to be something you find. It was never meant to be a perfect moment, a perfect person, or a perfect feeling. It was always meant to be something you create, something you nurture, something you choose. But modern love has taught people that love should happen effortlessly, that it should always feel natural, that the right person will never make you question, never make you struggle, never make you work for it. And because of that, people have become afraid of the reality of love. They have been conditioned to believe that love should never be inconvenient, that love should never ask anything of them, that love should be there to serve them, to fulfill them, to give them everything they want, without requiring them to give anything in return. And that is why modern love feels so empty. Because people are not showing up for love, they are showing up for the idea of love. They are showing up for the validation, for the attention, for the feeling of being desired, but they are not showing up for the work. They are not showing up for the patience, for the resilience, for the quiet moments that do not ask to be performed, but simply to be lived. They are not showing up for the effort that love requires because they have been taught that effort is the enemy of love, that if love requires effort, it must not be real. But that belief is the very thing that keeps people from experiencing love in its truest form. Because love is not about never struggling, love is about learning how to struggle together. Love is about facing challenges, about growing through them, about choosing each other even when things feel uncertain, even when things feel difficult, even when it would be easier to walk away. Love is about deciding every single day that the person standing in front of you is the person you want to build a life with, even when they are not perfect, even when the relationship is not perfect, even when life itself is not perfect. But people today are more afraid of imperfection than they are of being alone. They have been taught to walk away the moment something feels hard. They have been taught that if love does not come easily, it must not be meant to last. They have been taught that the right person will never disappoint them, never challenge them, never make them uncomfortable, and because of that, they keep leaving. They keep chasing. They keep searching for something that does not exist. Because there is no version of love that is always easy. There is no version of love that does not require patience. There is no version of love that does not ask something of you. And yet, people today expect love to give without ever having to give anything in return. They expect love to be an endless source of happiness rather than something that requires sacrifice, that requires compromise, that requires a willingness to be uncomfortable in order to grow. They expect love to be perfect when love was never meant to be perfect. Love was meant to be real. And real love is not always beautiful. Real love is not always romantic. Real love is not always easy to explain. Because real love is made up of moments that do not feel grand, that do not feel magical, that do not feel like they belong in a movie. Real love is made up of the ordinary, the mundane, the unglamorous. Real love is choosing each other even when life is chaotic, even when stress is high, even when the relationship is not giving you everything you want in the moment. But people today do not know how to choose love when it does not serve them. They only know how to choose love when it is convenient, when it is exciting, when it is easy. They only know how to be present in a relationship when they are getting something from it. And the moment they stop feeling fulfilled, the moment the relationship stops entertaining them, The moment love starts feeling like something that requires work, they leave. They convince themselves that love should never require effort. They convince themselves that the right relationship will always feel good, that the right person will never disappoint them, that the right love will never make them question whether or not it is right. But that is not love, that is fantasy, that is the illusion of love, that is the kind of love that is meant to be consumed, not created. And that is why so many people feel lost. Because they do not know how to create love. They only know how to consume it. They only know how to take from it. They only know how to chase the high of newness, without ever learning how to sustain something beyond that initial rush. But the kind of love that lasts, the kind of love that truly fulfills, is not the kind of love that is built on excitement alone. It is the kind of love that is built on depth. It is the kind of love that does not just exist in the moments when everything feels perfect, but in the moments when things feel uncertain, when things feel difficult, when life feels heavy, and yet love remains. The kind of love that is not just about passion, but about patience. The kind of love that is not just about desire, but about devotion. The kind of love that is not just about being seen, but about truly being known. And that kind of love does not come easily. It does not happen overnight. It does not present itself fully formed. It is something that must be nurtured. It is something that must be fought for. It is something that requires two people who are willing to stay even when it would be easier to leave. Two people who are willing to work through the difficult moments instead of avoiding them. Two people who understand that love is not about always feeling happy, but about building something that can withstand the moments when happiness is hard to find. Because that is the love that lasts. The love that is not built on the illusion of perfection, but on the foundation of commitment. The love that does not depend on fleeting emotions, but on the choice to show up day after day through every version of life, through every change, through every uncertainty. The love that does not just exist when things are easy, but thrives in the moments when things are not. And yet, most people will never experience that kind of love, because most people will never stop chasing the illusion. Most people will continue believing that love should always be effortless. Most people will continue convincing themselves that if love does not always feel good, it must not be real. Most people will continue walking away before love ever has the chance to grow into something real. But for those who are willing to see it differently, for those who are willing to unlearn everything modern love has taught them, for those who are willing to stop searching for perfection and start creating something real, love is still possible. Love is still worth it. Love is still waiting, not to be found, but to be built. Love is still waiting, not in the way people think, not as something to be stumbled upon, not as something that happens effortlessly, not as a fairy tale that unfolds perfectly without conflict, without challenge, without choice. Love is waiting to be built, to be chosen, to be fought for. But in a world that teaches people to leave at the first sign of difficulty, to move on when the excitement fades, to keep searching instead of staying, that kind of love is rare. Not because it doesn't exist, but because people have been conditioned to believe that love should never require effort, that love should never make them uncomfortable, that love should always feel good. But love was never meant to be something that only exists in the absence of struggle. Love was meant to be the thing that remains despite it. Love is not found in perfect compatibility. It is not found in never disagreeing, never feeling distant, never facing uncertainty. It is found in the decision to grow through those things together. It is found in learning how to communicate even when it's hard. It is found in choosing to work through differences rather than pretending they don't exist. It is found in the willingness to see a person fully, their strengths and their flaws, their beauty and their imperfections, and choosing them anyway. Not because they are perfect, but because love was never about perfection. It was always about connection, about effort, about choosing each other, even when life makes it hard. But people today don't want hard, they want easy, they want perfect. They want something that requires nothing of them, something that never asks them to be patient, something that never challenges them to grow. And when love inevitably asks for those things, they leave. They convince themselves that something better must be out there, that love should never feel like work, that if they were with the right person everything would always feel effortless. But there is no version of love that does not require work. There is no version of love that does not ask something of you. There is no version of love that does not come with moments of doubt, with moments of frustration, with moments of difficulty. The people who experience love in its truest form are not the ones who never question it. They are the ones who do not allow those questions to determine whether or not they stay. They are the ones who understand that love is not about never struggling, but about struggling together. They are the ones who know that love is not about finding someone who always makes them feel good, but about finding someone who is willing to stand beside them through every version of themselves, through every season of life, through every challenge that comes their way. And yet, people today run from that kind of love, not because they don't want it, but because they are afraid of what it asks of them. They are afraid of the work. They are afraid of the responsibility. They are afraid of opening themselves up fully, of being vulnerable, of risking everything without a guarantee. They are afraid of giving their all to something that might not last, and so they hold back. They keep their options open. They convince themselves that detachment is strength, that needing someone is weakness, that the moment they invest too much, they lose. But love is not something you win or lose. Love is not a game of power. Love is not about control. It is about surrender. It is about trust. It is about allowing yourself to be fully seen, fully known, fully accepted, without hiding, without pretending, without constantly protecting yourself from the possibility of pain. But people today do not know how to love without protecting themselves. They do not know how to give without fear of what they will lose. They do not know how to commit without constantly wondering if there is something better out there. And in doing so, they sabotage the very thing they claim to be looking for. Because love is not something that waits for you while you search for perfection. Love is not something that remains available while you explore all your options. Love is not something that continues to exist while you refuse to choose it. Love requires presence. Love requires effort. Love requires a willingness to stay, even when everything in modern culture tells you to go. And the truth is, most people will never experience love in its fullest form, not because it isn't available to them, but because they will never learn how to stop chasing illusions. They will never learn how to stop expecting love to be perfect. They will never learn how to stop measuring love by how much excitement it brings them rather than how much depth it allows them to experience. They will never learn how to stop mistaking attention for connection, desire for devotion, instant gratification for something that was always meant to take time. But for those who do, love is still real. For those who are willing to unlearn what they have been taught. For those who are willing to stop searching for something that does not exist. For those who are willing to put in the effort, love is still possible. Love is still waiting, not as something that happens by chance, but as something that is created through patience, through consistency, through the decision to love beyond the highs, beyond the rush, beyond the fantasy. Because love is not about never having doubts. It is about not allowing those doubts to dictate your decisions. Love is not about never struggling, it is about choosing to struggle together. Love is not about avoiding difficulty, it is about understanding that difficulty is part of what makes love meaningful. Because love that lasts is not the love that burns the brightest in the beginning, it is the love that continues to burn, even when life tries to put it out. And so, the question is not whether love still exists. The question is whether people are still willing to do what it takes to experience it. The question is whether people are still willing to unlearn the lies they have been told about love, to stop searching for perfection, to stop expecting love to always feel easy, to stop treating love as something that should only exist when it is convenient. The question is whether people are still willing to choose love, even when love does not feel like a fairy tale. Even when love does not look the way they expected it to, even when love requires them to be patient, to be present, to be willing to work through the moments that do not feel magical, but are necessary in order to create something real. Because love is not about finding the right person, love is about becoming the right person. Love is about learning how to show up fully, without fear, without hesitation, without always wondering if there is something better waiting for you elsewhere. Love is about understanding that the best relationships are not the ones that never struggle, but the ones that never give up. Love is about recognizing that there will always be moments when things feel hard, when things feel uncertain, when things feel like they are not enough. But love is what you choose in those moments. Love is the decision to stay, to work through, to build something deeper, something stronger, something that does not crumble at the first sign of difficulty. Because love is not broken, the way people understand it is. Love is not lost, the willingness to choose it is. Love is not impossible, but it requires more than most people are willing to give, and in the end, that is what separates those who find love from those who spend their lives searching for it. Not luck, not fate, not perfect compatibility, but the willingness to stop chasing illusions and start creating something real. Because love is not waiting to be found, it is waiting to be built. And the people who understand that will experience love in a way that most people never will.